A morning stream. Yay, morning streams. I honestly would probably do more of these if not for the fact that I can get so much stuff done in the morning usually. So it's hard to figure out if this is to be that thing or if other things is to be that thing. Today, this is to be that thing. As you might have seen from the Twitter post or in the name of the stream, I'm here currently eating some cereal and also going to be looking at the new Psion that has been released in Unearthed Arcana for D&D 5e. If you're not familiar, Unearthed Arcana is essentially the big compendium of their playtest material. Typically, anything they're releasing goes into Unearthed Arcana before it is given any sort of full release, or at least that has been the case for quite some time now. If you're not familiar, the Psion class itself is meant to be a psychic ability type spellcaster, and actually is not really the first time they've done this. They attempted this before with the Mystic class, which was this huge document. It was like 40 pages or something for that class alone. It had its own very in-depth unique mechanics. It didn't cast spells. It has whole own list of spell-like abilities that it did instead. It was really big. Some aspects of it people thought were overpowered. Some people just found it very daunting, and so it never got a full release. And the majority of its subclasses and main features were actually kind of picked apart and made into subclasses of other classes, such as the fighter has straight up a psionic type class. It was basically they have force abilities, and I always forget the name of that one. I always forget it. I've never played that one. It sounds cool. I've just never played it. And then you got the Phantom Rogue, which has a lot of those abilities, and then the Warlock now has its very more Eldritchy based thing with that a lot of that came from, as well as the Sorcerer has a very Eldritch oriented one that is very psychic based. So I feel like just a lot of these classes kind of got basically they kind of cut up the old Mystic class and turned it into a bunch of other things. So that is what this is now, a much more condensed down. It matches up a lot more with the current state of 5e. And from what I've looked at so far, it looks fun to me. Nothing's busted with it, but also nothing is quite amazing, I would say. But we're going to do a bit more of a look into it over the course of this while I have my breakfast. So I'm just going to hop right on. Well, actually, no, I'm not going to hop right into it, because we're going to start with the video they released of the Unearthed Arcana from D&D official channel. I'm going to let this ad run, and then and eat some bites of cereal. And then once the ad's done, we'll start the video and then look into the document ourselves. Alright, so see you in a minute. To anyone not watching the ad, enjoy some cereal crunching. Actually, how much can you even hear that? Oh, that's a nice crunch. Yeah, you can actually hear a pretty good crunch there. Hope you enjoyed that crunch. I'm eating it's Magic Spoon. It's a protein cereal. I like the fruity flavor. It's like Fruit Loops, but better for you, I think. At least it's more protein to fill you up as opposed to just straight carbs. So the dyes are natural too. Won't find any no red 40 in this. Welcome back. Alright, so let's get into the video. I've not watched this yet. I have I've looked at the document a little bit. I've not watched this yet, so let's see what they have to say about it and see what we actually get. Hold up, what is with the video? Hold on, why is it all jerky like that? if I make it full screen. Okay, so when I have it not full screen, it gets weird. Seems to be the standard right now. They're wanting like 4 per. Oh yeah, I guess this is. Yeah, we get some of the new guys now because the old because the other guys left. So I guess we get this is gonna be first kind of big thing released with just the new guys. I guess yeah. Okay, let me just make it full screen because it seems to run bad. I don't know why it's doing that. It's weird. Psy Warrior, that's what it's called. Psy Warrior and Soul Knife. Phantom Rogue, that's the undead spooky rogue. I get those mixed up like all the time. I always get them mixed up. Yeah, Psy Warrior, Phantom Knife. Those were originally aspects of the Mystic subclass. Not subclass, class. But when that never really took off, they just kind of took out parts of that and made them into these different subclasses. Spooky. That'd probably be the one I'd want to do just because I love teleporting around. Like, if I had a superpower, I would just want to be able to teleport. If I could do one thing, I'd want to do that. So that I'm hoping that one's going to be a lot of fun because I actually really like the idea of a class that just totally focuses on the idea of just teleporting yourself or enemies around because that just sounds like it can be a lot of fun. one thing I will say about those. So basically, all those are their like psychic power, psionic, based feats. You know, so like just in feats anyone can take. But all of them, when I was looking at the document area, all of them had the prerequisite that you cannot have another one of those type of feats. So that did seem odd to me. That amongst all those, you can only ever have one of those. So I don't really know the reason for that. Maybe if I start looking into them individually and they all seem like super strong, maybe that's why. But it does seem, it did just seem like a weird restriction if the whole intention of that is to kind of give you a taste of those abilities without, playing for a Scion. But I don't know. I guess we'll get a look at it once we're looking at the playtest. I just noticed their shirts, dragons and D20s, and I kind of love it. It's a nice shirt. My dream fulfilled. That's interesting, actually. For specific thing that comes to mind immediately for that is playing a Draconic Bloodline Sorcerer. You take Red Dragon or Gold Dragon for your bonus fire damage stuff, and then with that, you can just start turning all your damage types to fire for that bonus without having to use Transmute spell and sorcery points to turn it into fire damage. So that could be interesting if it stuff like that. So that right there, immediately there was an interesting combo to be had there. Oh, did I miss here? Does it have to be psychic damage? Okay, that almost kind of immediately turns it around and narrows it down a lot more, because I don't think there's actually a ton of spells, especially early game, that just do straight psychic damage. Sweet. Alright, so that is the general breakdown of it. So we are now going to take a look at it ourselves. So as they're listed here, they got all the stuff here. It gives you a rundown of what's in the material, all general stuff. The main things in here is the class set, the Scion, the subclasses, the what spells they get. As well as, I believe, they have some new spells added based on what the wording in this is. And then the Wall Talents, which is the base kind of extra stuff there. Let me zoom this in. Yeah. So, Psions weave magic and extraordinary powers through the power of their minds. They develop their minds as fonts of power that manifest spells and grow stronger over the course of their adventuring careers. You can find everything you need to play one of these psionic powerhouses in the next few sections. Psions are... Oh yeah, actually, they talk about some of those old editions and stuff here. Yeah, the Complete Psionics Handbook in 1991. That was the last time they kind of... Well, not the last time, the first time. That was the first time they brought that up. And then they had the Mystic that they try to do later on. So Psions will spellcasters use innate mental powers to gain extraordinary abilities and unleash the magic of their minds. Psions of their magic, sometimes called psionics, can trace their history back to the appendix of the first edition Player's Handbook. That was all the way back in first edition. Wow. And psionics using class first... And a psionics using class first appeared in the Complete Psionics Handbook in 1991. Psionics have taken numerous forms of D&D, from alternative magic systems to options that dovetail with other D&D rules. In the 5th edition, psionic powers is synonymous with magic, and the magic of the mind flavors numerous spells, monsters, and subclasses like Psi Warrior, Fighter, and Average Sorcerer in the Player's Handbook. In this edition, the Psion is a spellcaster who interfaces with magic and spellcasting similarly to other classes in the game. The UA provides the Psion with a unique twist to spellcasting using psionic energy dice and the psionic spellcasting feature, carving out a space to make the Psion stand out from its spellcasting peers. From what I've looked at it so far, it does. I would say some aspects of it, the playstyle feels a little bit like a blend of, primarily to me, a blend of Sorcerer, Warlock, and honestly, a little bit of Battle Master in a way, just because of how those dice work for the the psionic abilities. Like they mentioned there, like the Psi Warrior has this dice pool, so I guess maybe it's a little more akin to that than Battle Master. But I play Battle Master the most if I'm playing fighters, so that's my immediate comparison. So as core traits, they are an intelligence caster, which is good because the only one we have base game is Wizard. Then they added Artificer, which is always lagging behind, I feel like, in getting updated and things. They're finally getting that update. They're coming out with that new book that has the new version of the Artificer. So they're coming back, and then this will be our 3rd ever intelligence-based caster intelligence-based class in general in 5e. Unless you want to count Arcane Trickster, because they're a half caster, but they're still a rogue primarily, so the main thing is still going to be dexterity. Anyways, saving throws, intelligence, wisdom, skill proficiencies, arcana, insight, intimidation, investigation, medicine, perception, persuasion, weapon efficiency, simple weapons, no armor training, and starting equipment. They can get a spear, 2 daggers, light crossbow, 20 bolts, case engineering pack, and 6 gold pieces, or just start with 50 gold pieces to buy the stuff themselves. For the most part, those core psionic traits are pretty akin to what you get with the Wizard, so they are built, at least initially, as a little bit of a squishy spellcaster, more of a backline to midline probably, but then once you get into those subclasses, you get a little more options, it sounds like, as a lot of them are going to play pretty different from each other, which I feel like that's going to be the main thing where this will stand out from some of the other spellcasting classes. It is one of those ones where, based on subclass, its playstyle does seem to vary a lot, which is one of the reasons why I say in some cases it feels almost kind of Sorcerer Warlock-y blend to me, just because those are 2 of the spellcasters that do vary a lot based on the subclass you're playing with the general playstyle. So, as far as spellcasting goes, they work a bit more like Sorcerer in that they have a set number of spells prepared, and then set number of spell slots. Everyone has set number of spell slots, but they have a set number of cantrips and prepared spells, and then they can just kind of change those as they go. 2 silent cantrips of your choice. Minor Illusion, Technic Fling are recommended. Technic Fling being one of the new ones, I believe. When you gain a Scion level, you can replace one of your cantrips from this feature with another Scion cantrip of your choice. When you reach Scion levels 10 and 14, you'll learn another Scion cantrip of your choice, as shown in the cantrips column of the Scion features table. Wow, so you So you don't get a lot of cantrips as this. Like, you are rocking only 2 for a pretty long time. Like, I mean, with most campaigns ending at level 10, you're rocking 2 cantrips for the majority of your play. Oh hey, sorry, I didn't see you pop in. I'll take time. Psionics has never really been a good fit for D&D, and I doubt it ever will, unless they build a new edition with it being a base class from the beginning. Yeah, it is kind of an odd one to kind of mix in, just because, as it stands, all spellcasting we've had so far really just comes from, like, any psychic abilities are spell-based, or it's coming from some sort of more eldritchy aspect of the game, such as, you know, your apparitions, mind plays, things like that, which are touched on pretty well, I'd say, in things like the Great Old One Warlock and Aberrant Mind Sorcerer. Yeah, I definitely feel that, and I feel like that's one of the reasons why the Mystic class never took off, because it was too crunchy. There was just too much stuff for anyone to really kind of dive into with the Mystic class. But from a narrative standpoint as well, yeah, it definitely has some odd bits here and there with just trying to make it fit in with things. But I'm always open to taking a look at the new content, you know, because it's kind of nice to get that new stuff, you know, especially if the new stuff is actually fun. So, you know, I'm always down to take a look at it and see what it is. Like as it stands, I would say, like, from my very brief look over, I've done well at work yesterday, midway, so I didn't get a super deep dive. Like, the little bits and pieces I saw seems pretty fun. Like, I'd definitely try it. You'd say the best Onyx for D&E was probably the Dream Scarred Press stuff from Pathfinder 1E. Yeah, see, that's the thing. I can't really weigh in on that just because I don't have much of a background with Pathfinder. I've played in I think I've tried to play in like 2 campaigns, and I never got to play in those for very long just because, like, various conflicts. So, I don't know. I've never really dove that deep into Pathfinder, so I can't really weigh in on that aspect. But yeah, as far as the spellcasting goes, it's they have one of the more simple spellcasting systems, which is, you know, kind of more akin to the sources, which is probably good because they do have other resources that they'll have to make a use of with their energy die, which is kind of how they use the kind of more specific psychic abilities. And then on top of that, they also have those psionic modes, which is a whole other thing they gotta keep track of. Which, as far as I can tell, unless they gain some other ones later, I think those psionic modes, that's only the 2 modes, but still, it's just another thing to keep track of. And then there's the other psychic abilities they get that almost kind of like warlock invocations almost. So not much need to go over the rest of the spellcasting section, because, like I said, is basically the more simple version of the spellcasting, where they don't gotta worry about paired spells like wizards and whatnot. Save for the psionic spellcasting, which is somewhat interesting. When you cast a psionic spell, that spell doesn't require variable material components, even if the spell includes V or M in its components entry, except material components that are consumed by spell or have a cost specified in the spell, which is always a general thing with them. Is like, if it has those, then you do have to care about it. But this is interesting, mostly in the fact that basically a scion is always using like a sorcerer's subtle casting, basically. So it's like they can always just silently activate spells, pretty much, which is good. So you can actually play a very stealthy spellcaster with this. You know, very ambush tactics if you want. So that actually does open some pretty interesting things, especially ways to kind of pair up with the party rogue or maybe multi-class into rogue. So there's some fun to be had there, I would say. And then level 1, they also get their psionic power. You have a wellspring of psionic energies within yourself. This energy is represented by your psionic energy die. So this is the other main resource they got to keep track of. It goes up as they level up. It goes all the way up to a D12, starts as a D6. They spin these to do some stuff. Your psionic energy die are used to enhance your fuel. Certain psion features. You start with 2 such features: Teleconnect Propel and Telepathic Connection, each of which is detailed below. Some of your powers expand the psionic energy die as specified in Power's description, and you can't use a power if it requires you to use a die when all your psionic energy die are expended. You regain 1 expended Sonic Energy die when you finish a short rest, and you gain all of them when you finish a long rest. I don't know about just gaining 1 back. That seems a bit odd, unless like there are things that last drop. I believe most of them are 1 use, 1 spinning. It's not like things that like really persist over a while, so it seems like getting 1 back on a short rest isn't great, but I think they get some stuff later on that lets them recharge them at high levels. So maybe at level 1, that's fine. I'll just have to read in more just to see what else they get. Let's see. Some features that use Sonic and G9 require you to make a saving throw. The save DC equals your spell save DC from this class spellcasting feature. So basically, it's almost like some bonus spells for them, basically. To connect prepare, as a bonus action, choose 1 large or smaller creature other than you that you can see within 30 feet of yourself. Then roll 1 of your psionic energy die. The target must succeed on a strength save throw or be pushed or pulled, your choice, up to a number of feet straight away from you. Wait, hold on. Straight away from yourself equal to 5 times the number rolled. The die is expended only if the target failed its saving throw. So that is the thing they've been doing a lot with this one, with these sort of resources, like you see with Battlemaster 2. Is that they don't make you waste resources if they failed as often, which I think is kind of nice in some aspects of this, especially if it's a resource pool that you don't get a lot of. It can definitely kind of suck if you waste it, especially if it's not even for that big a thing. So like for this, you are getting to push or pull enemies around. I always love doing that, and you're getting to do it as a bonus action, so that's a fun little thing to do. So that's nice. It's not unless you're playing with someone who's like setting up maps though that make really good use of terrain and maneuvering and whatnot, it can vary in its usefulness. But at least at my tables with how we use maps, like this would be useful, I would argue. I would certainly enjoy it. Two-path connection, you have telepathy with a range of 5 feet. That's not great. That's a very short telepathy. As a bonus action, you can spin 1 Sonic Energy die and roll it for the number of minutes equal to your Scion level. The range of telepathy increases by number of feet equal to 10 times the number rolled. I'm not gonna lie, that doesn't sound great. Like that's worse message, is what that sounds like to me. And then I think there are other kind of psychic connection feats you can take, like for basically telepathy. Like there are feats you can take that are just this, but like way better and way less restrictive. So like if I don't think I would ever want, like as it is base, I don't think I would ever want to use one of my few energy die, especially early game, to do telepathic connection. I just don't think it just doesn't sound very worth it. Because there's like, I believe early game they'd even I'd have to look at the spell list. Hold on, actually, let's take a peek at the spell list real quick. What was it? No one silent spells. Was it? Oh, here we go. Here they go. It's fine. Yeah, they even get message. They get message. So like, yeah, I would just not use that. If I'm being honest, like I just don't think I would use that. I mean, hold on. You have telepathy with 5 feet. I mean, okay, so you have telepathy with a range of 5 feet. So you always can whisper to the guy right next to you. That's fine. And then this is a bonus action as opposed to an action. But I just can't necessarily think of a situation in which I would need to do this, especially like early on, as opposed to just yell at the other guy. Like the only time I could think of this is if you are in the effects of silence, or if you're like gagged or something like that. Like there are things it could come up, but generally speaking, save for those like basically those two specific circumstances, I don't think I would use one of those die for this necessarily. It feels like, frankly, the worst telepathy in the game, basically, because other telepathic options that are already in the game are vastly better. And this class would absolutely probably, like, would very reasonably have easy access to it. This one's kind of nice, the Solar Telekinesis. You know, the Mage Hand cantrip, you cast it without some mana components, and you can make the Spectral Hand invisible when you cast it. That's just always a little fun, so you just get free. So on top of your regular 2 cantrips you pick, you also get this, just better version of Mage Hand, kind of similar to what the Arcane Trickster gets. And then you get your Psionic Discipline at level 2, so that's level 1 done, here's level 2. You learn further psionic techniques that are fueled by your psionic energy die. You gain 2 disciplines of your choice. Okay, so here's the other things you use those for. So basically, the invocation type stuff are the other things you use those dice on. You gain 2 disciplines of your choice, such as expanded awareness and id insinuation. Disciplines are described in the psionic discipline options sections later in the class description. You can use only 1 discipline each turn and only once per turn unless otherwise noted in one of those options. Whenever you gain a Scion level, you can replace one of your psionic disciplines options with one you don't know. You gain 2 more options at Scion level 10 and 2 more at Scion level 17. So you don't get a ton of these. I mean, it's 2 it's 2 every time though. And every time you level up, you can replace it. So it's not bad, especially if they're like really good. So again, it definitely feels like the class so far feels like every game it gets everything it has sounds really good or pretty meh. So I feel like this class gets maybe a slow start. But like most classes, I bet probably at level 3 once they get the subclass now, that's probably where things kind of pick up a bit more for them. But they do get 2 things at level 2. So they get the psionic modes as well, which is just like I said, this is yet another thing they have to keep track of. So it is a little resource heavy, I feel like, because like at level 2 you already have you're keeping track of your spell slots, you're keeping track of your energy die. You're now picking disciplines that you're keeping track of, and you're keeping track of your psionic modes. That's by level 2, you got like 4 things that you're keeping track of, which is fine for some people. Other people might not like that. You know, some people don't like have to keep track of or do that level of bookkeeping. It's probably less than it sounds like, especially since you're not learning spells like a wizard does. But still. By level 2, that's already 4 different, basically, like 4 different resources. But maybe the sonic mode isn't that complex, so let's take a look. You have honed your sonic powers to act as both a shield and a weapon in battle as a bonus action. That's another thing so far. A lot of bonus action activations, so it's bonus action heavy. You can choose one of the following modes, granting you certain benefits for 1 minute or until you use this feature again. Also, down here you'll note that you can use this feature twice, and you regain all expended uses when you finish a long rest. So you can do it twice. So you are keeping track of a resource because you gotta keep track of doing this 2 times per rest, and it lasts for a minute or until you do it again. So you got attack mode or defense mode. Honestly, I feel like there was some more fun naming scheme to be had here. I, off the top of my head, don't know what it is, but I feel like there's something better to call this than just straight up attack or defense mode. I don't know. It just, feels odd. Attack mode, I mean, it is what it says. I just feel like there's room to give it some more flavorful names. So for attack mode, damage from your weapon attacks, Scion spells, and Scion features ignore resistance to psychic damage, that's fine. Early game, I don't think you're going to count it. Well, actually, for most of the game, unless you're playing a campaign that battles apparitions a lot, you'll probably not go be dealing with a lot of things that are resistant to psychic damage as is. In addition, when you roll damage for a spell, you can expend 1 psionic energy die to reroll a number of damage dice up to your intelligence modifier, minimum of 1, and you must use the new rolls. Again, it's fine. I think I would prefer to save those energy dice to, telekinetically propel people places instead of just rerolling damage die. But, it is an option if you get that, that dreaded roll of like mostly ones. Then defense mode, you have resistance psychic damage. In addition, when you fail an intelligence, wisdom, or charisma saving throw, you can take a reaction to expend one psionic energy die, roll the psionic energy die, and add the number of roll to the saving throw, potentially turning a failure to success. Now, this is much better. I think in most cases, I prefer to be in defense mode anyways, especially playing a squishy spellcaster with a d6 hit die and no armor proficiencies. I think I would absolutely prefer to do the defense mode so that I have a better chance of succeeding on my saves if I'm concentrating on spells. With that in mind, let me just peek at the spells again to see what the early game spells are. So let's see. Charm Person, Command, Comprehend Language, Detect Magic, Dissonant Whispers, Featherfall, Identify, Jump, Strong Stride, Mage Armor, Silent Image, Sleep, Speak with Animals, Tasha's Hideous Laughter, Tinses, Floating Disc. They don't have a ton of concentration. Wait, how isn't Charm Person concentration? Hold on. Oh, hold on. But level 2... Hold on. Let's see his concentration, isn't it? Might be about to show myself to be a dumb... Is Charm Person not concentration? No, it's not a concentration spell. Okay, so level 1 spells, they only have 3. But then you immediately into level 2... Of all... Like, they have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9... 10, 11, 12, 13 different spells to pick from that are all concentration. I only have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 level 2 spells that aren't... 8. 8 level 2 spells that aren't concentration. So it's like... Okay, yeah. They like, look at all these. They have a ton up until they get to level 7. So many of those spell options are concentration. So I feel like there was pending how subclasses changed the interaction of those, at least early on, absolutely just going to defense mode and staying in defense mode so that you can have a better chance to, keep up those spells. But yeah, then once you get into level 3, you gain your subclasses. Your options are the Metamorph, Psywarp, Psykinetic, and Telepath, as mentioned in the video before. We'll get into those in a bit. Level 4, Ability Score Improvement. You know how it go. Level 5, Sonic Restoration. When you finish a short rest, you can regain expended Sonic Energy die, but no more than a number equal to half your number of dice. Round down. Okay, so kind of like a Wizard's... I forget what it's called, but the thing wizards get to do to regain some of those spell slots. So that's nice. So by level 5, they're already getting to regain more than 1 at a short rest. So that does go up pretty well. So that's a decent regain of those at that point. So that kind of helps it along. Level 7, Psionic Surge. When you roll initiative, you can expend 1 of your hit point die and regain 1 expended use of psionic modes. In addition, after you roll 1 or more psionic energy die, you can expend 1 of your hit point dice and treat any roll of 1, 2, or 3 on those psionic energy die as a 4. So that's interesting. So you hit level 7 and it's making use of another resource. So again, resource heavy, because now you're keeping track of your hit point dice, not just for regaining hit points, but as a means to regain energy die through Psionic Surge, as well as improve the rolls, making it to where you can only roll 4 or up on them. Which honestly, for some people, they probably don't like that, just because they don't want to have to use because you'll probably eat into those pretty quick if you want to make good use of it. But some tables, admittedly my tables as well, we don't make as good a use as short rest as you probably should. I feel like the guys I play with, they're a large group, so usually they just go until everyone is tapped, and then they long rest, because by that time they've mostly dealt with the threat. In a smaller group, that's probably going to make more use of short rest. probably this is a bit more of an issue just because they want to be able to use their hit die for regaining hit points. But I'm not gonna lie, like this could be a decent way to kind of just work hit die back into the game for tables such as mine, where we're a larger group who are usually trudging along until they are just allowed to long rest. I don't know, they don't like to short rest. It's long rest or nothing with them a lot of times. And then they don't get anything class specific until level 19. I guess everything else they get after that point is more spells. And then, because that's one thing to keep in mind, this is a full caster. Really at its heart, it's essentially a full caster. So some of these gaps here are just gaining high level spell slots as well as abilities from the subclasses. The next main class ability, though, other than spell slots, is level 19 Epic Boon, like every other class gets now. And then level 20 Enkindled Life Force. Once per turn, when you expend one psionic energy die and roll it for a psion feature or psionic discipline, you can expend 2 of your hit point die to roll 2 additional psionic energy die and add the number rolled to the total. So, this is okay, I feel, unless the wording here, though. So you can spend 2 hit point dice, and in exchange you get to roll 2 additional psionic energy die. Now, are you expending those dice from this resource? In which case you're just burning 3 of those and 2 hit point dice? Because if so, that would suck. Or if I'm reading it correctly as you just get to add those 2 to the total in exchange for these, and it's not eating out of the energy die pool, then that's pretty decent. However, that's also depending which discipline or psion feature you're using that's burning them, because depending on what those are, some of them will probably be better than others. But I guess we can kind of see, because psionic disciplines, there's actually not a ton of them. There is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. You have 8 options. So, and then you get 2, so you get 6 of them total out of 8. So there's only 2 that you possibly never get. But so you got biofeedback. When cast a psionic spell from the necromancy or transmutation school, you expend 1 psionic energy die and roll it. You gain a number of temporary hit points equal to the number rolled, plus your intelligence modified, minimum of 1. That could be decent, paired with other things, such as, I believe the way, if they get Armor of Agathis, actually, that could be pretty decent. Because I believe the way Armor of Agathis works now, at least as written, basically, so long as you are constantly gaining some temporary hit points and you never let that number hit 0, you basically always have Armor of Agathis active. It does not appear to be in this spell list, but if you were to do like a magic initiate of some sort, you could gain it, and that could be something to experiment around with. So there is some options there, at the very least. If you bump up your intelligence high enough, which you're going to want to do because you're a primary spellcaster and intelligence is your spellcasting ability mod, so you probably do want to try to get that as high as possible, especially with your d6 hit die, so you can get full use of your keeping at range and whatnot. So, yeah, it could be decent. That paired with this would be the potential for a lot of temporary hit points in one go. But that's not until level 20. So up until level 20, you're only getting like the most possible you can get. Well, you get this at level 2, so you're getting like probably 8 to 10 of them if you're rolling good. So it's okay. Now, this isn't eating into your action economy, though, because you are able to do it just anytime you cast a Necromancy Transmutation spell from your Psion spell list. So, it's not eating into action economy, at the least. So it gives you a little more of your own survivability. You just gotta be a little more mindful which spells you're picking. Which, looking at this next one, seems like maybe might be a theme on this. Well, no, because the next one doesn't have a spell thing. Destructive Thoughts. When you cast a Scion spell from Conjuration or Evocation School, and a creature you can see succeeds on a saving throw against the spell, you can expend one Psionic Energy die and roll it. The creature takes psychic damage equal to the number rolled plus your intelligence modifier. So you do this to make them take damage as a result of succeeding on a save. So just let you get a little something if you otherwise would have gotten nothing. Not bad. It's not amazing, but it's also not bad. But also so far the energy die, stuff you're using the energy die on aren't super strong things anyways. They're just a little bonus, it feels like. Especially since the base things you give you are both bonus action based. So these are just some extra little things to do on your turn, it feels like, as opposed to your primary function. Devilish Tongue, when you take the influence action, you can expend one Sonic Energy die, roll it, and add the number rolled to the ability check. Yeah, that's decent. That's okay. You know, if you tend to be like the negotiator of the group, like it's decent. Ego Whip. When a creature provokes an opportunity attack from you by leaving your reach, you can take a reaction to roll one Sonic Energy die and force the creature to make an intelligence saving throw. Okay, so you would be doing this instead of the actual attack. On a failed save, the target speed is reduced by 10 feet, and it subtracts the number rolled from the next damage roll it makes before the end of its next turn. The die is expended only if the target fails the saving throw. That's not... You know, actually, I kind of like that. I like that, especially since you don't get simple weapons. This, as of now, save for maybe some of the subclasses, there's not much reason to be using your reaction for opportunity attack, because you're probably not going to deal a lot of damage regardless of what attack you're making. So getting to do this instead could be a decent use of reaction, especially since it lets you reduce their next damage roll. So I'm okay with that one. Expended Awareness, when you take the search action and expend one Sonic Energy die, roll it, add the number rolled to ability check. Okay, that one's okay. What is Eid? Insinuation. When you cast a silent spell from the enchantment or illusion school that forces a creature to make a saving throw, you can expend two Sonic Energy die and roll one's. Wait, you can expend two Sonic Energy dice and roll one Sonic Energy die. One target of the spell you can see subtracts the number rolled from its saving throw against the spell. What? Hold on. So you have to expend two dice, but you only get to roll one. One target of the spell you can see subtracts the number rolled from its saving throw against the spell. That doesn't sound very... like, that uses a lot of your resource for, like, not much of a good reason. Like, you have to expend two to make one targeted creature reduce it by the number that you roll on one of the die, because you're only rolling one, but you're spending two. I don't think this shouldn't cost two. I don't see any reason why this should cost two, if I'm to be honest. Inerrant Aim. When you make an attack roll against a creature and miss, you can roll one Sonic Energy die and add the number rolled to the attack roll, potentially turning the miss into a hit. If this causes the attack to hit, the die is expended. Okay, well this is a safe one because it's only expended if it hits. So that's a safe one. And then Sonic Backlash. Immediately after a creature you can see hits you with an attack roll, you can take the reaction to expend one Sonic Energy die. Roll two Sonic Energy dice and subtract them rolled on each die from the total. In addition, you can force the attacker to make a Wisdom saving throw. On a failed save, the target takes psychic damage equal to the amount rolled. Okay, why is this one so much better than all the others? Like, this one is, like, the best one, hands down. You would take this one and never replace it. Because you, as a reaction of being hit, you expend one die. And for spending one die, you get to roll two and you subtract the number rolled on each die from their total. In addition, wait, hold on. In addition, you can force the great negative unfair to say the target takes psychic damage equal to the amount rolled on the two. Hold on. You subtract the number rolled on the die frame. Okay, are you subtracting from the attack roll? Or is that subtracting from the damage roll? Because this is saying immediately after a creature hits you, so you have been hit. Okay, you know what? Yeah, I think that's what I'm saying. This is letting you turn a hit into a miss. So you would get to do this after it's confirmed that... so after the enemy's confirmed to have hit, you get to expend 1 die to... If you theoretically... you take this when your energy die is only d6, right? So you get to... If you roll max, you can then subtract the attack roll by 12... almost very likely turning that into a miss. And they make a wisdom save. And if they fail that, they also would take that 12 as psychic damage. This one is so much better than all these other ones. Like, all these other ones, like, which makes me all the more confused why this one cost you 2. Like, how does this one do all of this at the cost of 1? And this does very little at the cost of 2. And also, your energy die goes up. It goes all the way up to D12. So, by the time you get this to D12, you are possibly subtracting... If you are crazy with your dice rolls and you max and get a 12 on both those D12s, you are subtracting 24 from the attack roll, certainly turning that into a miss, and possibly dealing 24 points of psychic damage to them for their trouble. I feel like these need work, because this one is insanely good, and all the this one is, I would call this one bad, and all the rest are distinctly okay. So the Sonic disciplines need work. They need a lot of work, I think. Because there's only 8. 1's bad, 1 is amazing, and then all the rest are okay. Hold on. And you started getting these at level 3? No, level 2. At level 2 you get these. So at level 2 you're possibly... Yeah. Now, it is using your reaction, but again, you're a spellcaster. Right? So, if you have the unfortunates of an attacker... Also, there's no range penalty. There's no range limit on this either. It is, if a creature you can see hits you, there is no range on this either. So long as you can see them, as long as they're not attacking from stealth, or invisible, or I guess the way stealth works now, basically, I guess you can just shorthand it, say, as long as they don't have the invisible condition, and you're not blinded in some means, then you can just do this, like, when you are attacked as a reaction. Now, it's a reaction, so you can only do it once per... So, yeah. They need to work on these. I think, because I would take this one, and if I only had this one, I think I'd be fine with that. Because I think I would save all of my energy die to Telekinetic Prepare or Sonic Backlash. Like, as of, without looking into the... Oh, wait, hold on. Oh, my bad. There are 3 more. I missed 3. I didn't see these. So there are 8, 9, 10. So there's 11. There's 11, actually. There's more than I thought. Okay, so let me stop rating them and look at these other 3. Psionic Guards. At the start of your turn, you can expend 1 Psionic Energy die. At the start of your next turn, You have immunity to the charmed and frightened condition. Okay, this doesn't use any actions. It's just at the start of your turn. When your turn starts, you can choose to do this. You have immunity to charmed, frightened conditions and advantage on intelligence saving throws. If you are charmed or frightened when you use this discipline, the condition ends on you. So if you start your turn with one of these conditions, at the start of your turn, you can just choose to nope. When you use Psionic Guards, you can also use a different Psionic discipline. And you can use it on. Okay. So yeah, so at level 2, I take these two. You take Psionic Guards and Psionic Backlash. That is an incredibly easy decision. Alright, what about this one? Swift Precognition. When you cast a Scion spell from the Abjuration or Divination schools with the casting time of an action, you can expend a number of these Sonic Energy die to change the casting time. Wait, what? A number. Oh, the number of dice equals 1 plus the spell's level. So you can do this to change it into a bonus action. I feel like that is just going to cost you too many of them for getting it into a bonus action, because you have a lot of other bonus actions already. You have plenty of other stuff to do as bonus actions, you know. So I don't think I necessarily want to do this one. I maybe would. I mean, I do like to swift cast as a sorcerer if I can, but the resource pool for that isn't quite as heavy, I feel like. Actually, no, because Swiftcast is one of the more expensive ones, but I don't know. The thing of Sorcerer, though, I'm not also possibly spending bonus actions on a bunch of other things. I don't have as many bonus actions as a Sorcerer to begin with. Like, I basically take Swiftcast to gain bonus actions. Then Tactical Mind, when you take the study action, you can spend 1 Scion Energy die, roll it, and add the number roll to the ability check. Okay. I mean, that's fine. I feel like they have a few of them that are just this, but only for specific ability checks. So, level 1, Sonic Backlash and Psionic Guards. Incredibly easy, keep those forever. And then another 2 later on, I would maybe Biofeedback. Maybe Ego Whip. Also, and then other 2 maybe would be Devilish Tongue. And for all the things I just said, I would probably take this one, just have some other bonus action options in the tank. I don't think it would be my immediate go-to, but it would be an option, especially later on when you get more of these. How many of these do you get total? You start at 4, you get 6 at level 5, then you get 8 at level 9, you get 13 at level 10, and then it caps at 12 at level 17. And also, it looks like the die is the same as the number you get, save for with the d6. Because it starts at... Oh, wait, okay, hold on. So, it starts at 4 up to that. At level 5, once it goes up to 6, it becomes a d8. Then it stays a d8 up until level 11, which you still have 8 of them at level 11, but it's now a d10. So, yeah. Yeah, so I would say those would have to be my picks. I would say these need work. The Sonic Disciplines need work because there are the very clear 2 super good ones, 1 bad one, then all the rest are just pretty okay, you know? So that it seems like the picks are very easy. Just like a level 2, take Sonic Guards and Sonic Backlash, and then as you level up and you get to choose some other ones, choose the ones that seem pretty okay. And then spell list, they get a good variety of stuff. Like, it's not just like they get a good variety of spell types. A lot of them, from what I can tell, not a lot of them, they're not very damage heavy stuff. A lot of them are more utility and screwing with people, not necessarily damaging ones. Blade War, Dancing Lights, Friends, Light, Mage Hand, Mending Message, Minds Deliver, Mind Illusion, Prestidigitation, Telekinetic Fling, that's new. True Strike, Divination. So, I don't know why I read the school only for True Strike. But, of those, I mean, you get Mage Hand for free, so I don't even know why it would give you this as an option. You don't need it as an option. You get it for free. It comes free with your class. I would probably take Message, just because I don't want to spend the resource to do Worst Message as a bonus action. But I guess that's why it's a bonus action, because it is Worst Message. Whereas this is an action. But still. So I take that. And then I probably take Mind Sliver. Well, actually, no. I probably take that and Tokenetic Fling just to, try out the new fun spell, which... What's it do? Hold on. Let me go find the spell. Tokenetic Fling. Let me skip these for a second. Spares. God, I got some crazy looking thing. Here we go. Evocation cantrip, Scion, gets time in action, components, foe material, an arrow, bolt, board, or needle. So basically a pointy object that's worth at least a copper. Range is 60 feet. You branch the ammunition used to cast this spell and fire it at a creature within range using psionic energy. Make a ranged spell attack against the target. On a hit, target takes 1d10 force damage and the ammunition is destroyed. And it upgrades to be a additional d10 for 2 d10s at 5th, 3 d10s at 11, and 4 d10 at 17. Okay. That's fun. That's just a fun, flavorful, damaging cantrip. I take it. I would just take it as your damage option. That's fun. I like that. It's like a more specific catapult. As a matter of fact, what damage does catapult do? Catapult. I like catapult. Catapult does 3d8 bludgeoning. Okay. So, by level 5, you're doing a little bit more. So by level 5, this is possibly as strong, if not stronger, depending on how your rolling average, than Catapult. So, I mean, I would take this just because of the flavor and the decent damage. And the range is the same as Catapult too, and its casting. It's just Catapult gives you more options because it can be like basically any object that weighs a certain amount. So you're flinging heavier stuff than this for more die of damage. You 3d8s instead of its base 1d10. But yeah, I don't know. That'd be fun. I would take that. Just as, your primary damaging option, because, like I said, your other stuff not heavy on damaging stuff. You got, especially early game, you got Ammo Friendship, Charm Person, Command, Comprehend Language, Detect Magic, Dissonant Whispers. You're utility casting a lot, it looks like. Featherfall, Identify, Jump, Longstrider, Mage Armor, Silent Image, Sleep, Speak for Animals, Tasha's Hideous Laughter, Tense's Floating Disc. I don't believe Tasha's does damage. It just has an effect. Hold on. That's not how you spell that. Yeah, that doesn't do damage. So your level 1 spells, you don't have any damage doing options. I'm also surprised you don't get Catapult. Oh, you know what? Actually, Catapult doesn't have a 2024 version, does it? It doesn't. Catapult is only in Xanathar's Guide as of now. It doesn't have a 2024 version, which is probably why it's not in this, because they just didn't transfer it. Oh, maybe Tokenetic Fling is meant as a replacement of Catapult. Huh. Alright. I mean, I would miss it, because I feel like this would be the perfect class to have it be one of its spells, honestly. Whatever, though. And then number 2, Animal Messenger, Blind Stemness, Calm Emotions, Crown of Madness, Detect Thoughts, Enhanced Ability, Enlarge Reduce. These two right here would be great ones to take. Enthrall, Heat Metal. Okay, that's a good option. Hold Person, Visibility, Knock, Locate Animals or Plants, Locate Object, Magic Mouth, Mind Spike, another good option. Mirror Image, Phantasmal Force, I like that one. Scene Visibility, Shadow Silence, Suggestion. Tasha's Mind Whip appears in this UA, so I guess Tasha's Mind Whip has gotten a rework. And Zone of Truth. Good options. Again, it's like you're clearly not a primary damage dealer as this class, at least not as far as your spells go. Level 3. Oh, you get Animate Dead with this one. Okay. Oh, yeah, because you're using your mind to, like, puppet the bodies. Okay, that's... So there's some fun flavor options there. Animate Dead, Bestow Curse, Clairvoyance, Spell Magic, Fear, Fly, Hypnotic Pattern, Indirect Fortress, which gets a new version in this UA. Major Image, Non-Detection, Sending, Summon Astral Entity, that's new, appears in this UA. Telekinetic Crush appears in this UA. Okay, that's fun. I believe that originates from the Taudori campaign, guys, specifically the Wild Mount expansion, where they introduced the Dunamancy stuff, which is all the gravity and time-based magics, which they're cool, flavorful. Telekinetic Crush, so that'll be fun. That's probably gonna be kind of your biggest damage dealer you get for a while. Level 4s, Arcane Eye, Banishment, Charm Monster, Compulsion, Confusion, Dimension Door, Freedom of Movement, Great Invisibility, Hallucinatory Terrain, Locate Creature, Phantasmal Killer, Party Morph, Rothim's Psychic Lance appears in this. Oh, you know what? I do know. That's okay. Then that one gets reworked too. Okay, so a lot of the fun psychic-oriented spells are getting some reworks in this too, which I think a lot of people go like. Presuming the new versions are good, I like that because those are cool spells. And Summon Aberration. Level 5, Animate Object, Awaken, Contact Other Plane, Dominate Person, Dream, Geos. Yeah, you gotta get Geos for this one. Hold Monster, Legend, or Mislead, Modified Memory, Rary's Telepathic Bond, Scrying, Seeming, Synaptic Static, Telekinesis. Telekinesis, I love, super fun, Teleportation Circle. Level 6, Bladeberry, Disintegrate, Eye Bite, Find the Path, Mass Suggestion, Move of, Auto-Zazarian Dance, Irresistible Dance, Program Delusion, True Seeing. Level 7, Etherealness, Force Cage, Force Cage, Mirage Arcane, Plane Shift, Power Word Fortify, Project Image, Reverse Gravity, super fun, Reverse Gravity, and Teleport, and level 8, Antipathy / Sympathy, Befuddlement. I'm befuddled trying to read this. Dominate Monster, Glibness, how glib. Maze, Mind Blank, Power Word Stun, and Telepathy. And level 9, you get Astral Projection, Foresight, Power Word Heal, Power Word Kill, Psychic Scream, which appears in this UA, another one from the Wild Mount, I believe. Shape Change, Time Stop, and Weird. They get a fun spell list. This is a fun spell list. You can tell that damage is not the primary focus of this class, at least as far as the spellcasting goes. But all these are very fun ones to terrify enemies with. So and also there's some really good buffing options as well. So you are definitely a utility / support caster, mostly focusing on doing things to either buff your allies or confuse the shit out of your enemies, which is honestly just kind of a fun way to play if you're into that playstyle. So before we get into subclasses, I need to take a quick bathroom break. I will be right back. And I'm back. Alright, so now we're going to look into these subclasses. So you got 4 to pick from, same as all the other classes at base release in this edition of the game. They get 4 with the 2024/25 5e. They really need to come up with a new concrete name because we can't just keep calling it the 2024 edition, because now some of the new stuff came out in 25, and if they go to keep coming out with new stuff, that stuff's going to be coming out in 26. So they need a more concrete name for this. It's called, I don't know, 5.5. That's what a lot of people are calling it. Might as well just call it that. Call it 5.5. Anywho's it. So, as the Metamorph, you physically sculpt life and flesh. Your mastery of sonic powers turns inward. Your own flesh becomes like clay to you. And you mold, there's no space there. You mold it to turn it into the perfect vessel of your psionic powers. Experience in manipulating your life energy also enables you to adjust the life force of friends and foes alike. So level 3, get Metamorph spells. When you Scion level specified in the Metamorph spells table, you thereafter always have the list of spells prepared. So they get a dedicated spell list that they always have prepared. While the spellcasters get this now, it's a nice little boost, and kind of helps shape how you play that subclass. So with So right away you get Alter Self, Cure Wounds, Inflict Wounds, Lesser Restoration. So with this class, pretty immediately you get to be a little bit more of a damage dealer, but also a bit of a healer, I guess. Because you also get later on Aura Vitality, Haste. Ooh, that's a really good one to get. Polymorph, Stone Skin, Contagion, and Mass Cure Wounds. So yeah, you are half and half healer and support and also damage dealer as this one, it seems like. Yeah, okay, especially because just reading this organic weapon. So you're definitely reading more into a mid to front line. I still wouldn't say front line. You are supporting the front line with some additional damage and healing. So you're probably standing directly behind the front line as opposed to standing in the back as this one. You can shape your limbs into weapons. Whenever you take the attack action or make an opportunity attack, you can reform your free hand into one of the following organic weapons: Bone Blade, Flesh Maul, or Viscera Launcher. That sounds gnarly as hell and gross. Your limb immediately returns to its previous form after your organic weapon hits or misses its target. So it's just a very momentary change. Some people have said this is like the symbiote from Spider-Man. My friend at work said this, and I agree with them, that this makes me think of the parasites from, if you watch the anime Parasite, that. Whenever you attack with the weapon, you can use Intelligence modifier for the attack and damage rolls instead of using Strength or Dexterity. And you can cause the weapon to deal psychic damage or its normal damage type. So that's pretty cool. Okay, so that's a fun way to kind of... This really changes up how you play this immediately, because now, like I said, you're maybe still not a frontline because your hit die is still a D6, right? You still only got a D6. You don't have a lot of hit points. So you're still not a frontline, but at the very least, you're probably closer to the front, helping support your frontline fighters with some healing, some boost, and then going in there to hit the enemy yourself here and there, because it looks like the damage values aren't terrible either. Bone Blade. Blade made of bone springs from your forearm or extends from your hand. The blade counts as a simple melee weapon with the finesse property, and it deals 1d8 piercing damage on a hit. You have advantage on the attack roll you make with the blade if at least one of your allies is within 5 feet of the target and the ally doesn't have the incapacitated condition. So they get some of their own unique kind of like features as well, these different weapon types. So you can get advantage on this if you're fighting alongside your guy. So this is kind of backs up what I was saying there. You're not front line, but you are directly behind and supporting your front line. So he goes in for the big hit. You loop around real quick. Maybe you'll helping him get... Well, no, because if you're already in flank, you already have advantage. So this would be keeping you from having to get in that front line. You just step out from behind him, get a quick stab in, and then back, and then get out of there. The Flesh Maul, your fist and forearm coalesce into a hardened mass of flesh and bone. The maul counts as a simple melee weapon and deals 1d10 bludgeoning damage on a hit. A creature hit by the maul has disadvantage on the next strength or constitution saving throw it makes before the start of your next turn. Okay, yeah, because these hits are also adding some debuffs to the enemy, so you are more of a support line still. And the Viscera Launcher, again, sounds gross. Your hand and forearm transform into a crossbow made of muscle and sinew that fires bolts of bile. That's fucking gross. The launcher counts as a simple ranged weapon with a normal range of 30 feet and long range of 90 feet. Oh yeah, because even the ranged one doesn't have crazy range to it, so you're probably operating pretty close to your front line. And it deals 1d6 acid damage on a hit. Once on each of your turns, when you hit a creature with an attack roll using the launcher, you can deal an extra 1d6 acid damage to the target. Okay, so it's base 1d6, but once per turn, it's 2d6. So, yeah, these are all pretty decent ways to hit. And you also, at level 3, because we're still at level 3 here, you get this. As a bonus action, you can spend 1 psionic energy die. For the next minute, you gain the following benefits. Your reach increases by 5 feet. Your speed increases by 5 feet. When you cast a spell that has a range of touch and a casting time of an action, you can make the spell's range 10 feet. Okay. So there it is. So yes, you are standing behind your tank. You use extended limbs to either do a touch spell from behind your tank on the guy he's fighting, or turn Flesh Maul or Bone Blade into a reach weapon to attack him from behind your tank. You are backpacking your tank. You're his pocket bonus damage dealer, and when they need it, pocket support. Okay, yeah, this is an interesting way to spray him. Okay. I'm kind of into this. Okay. And then at level 6, you get extra attack, which is, so this one is definitely leaning you into using these abilities more as opposed to like you're just spell casting, unless you need a big boost of some sort. So if anything, this one is maybe a little bit of a, you're not eating away your resources as much because it's incentivizing you using these other features that don't cost you anything and have some pretty decent effects to them. Because you get extra attack at level 6, so you can do these twice, which I guess is why this specifies once per turn, so you can't, so it's not like 4d6 a turn, it's maximum 3, but still. Oh, you get 2 things at level 6. You get extra attack and quickened healing. When you cast Cure Wounds, you can spend 2 Sonic Energy die to change the casting time to a bonus action for this casting. When you do, you can roll 1 Sonic Energy die, and now the number rolled to total amount of hit points is stored. Okay, even more so. Yes, absolutely. If you're playing this one, you stand behind your tank. You save your Sonic Energy die to either protect your energy die to either protect yourself, or bonus action, do a boosted Cure Wounds as a bonus action. Now then, it is costing you 2 of those dice, but by level 6, I believe your die has increased anyways, right? Level 6. Yeah, level 6, you've got D8s now, and you have 6 of them. So up to 3 times you can do Cure Wounds with a bonus D8 as a bonus action and smack the enemy for a decent... Honestly, yeah, in either of these cases, for a decent amount twice. That's pretty good. Especially at this stage of the game, like that's pretty good. And by that point, you have gotten haste as well. I would not cast haste on yourself, but you would cast it on the guy that you're pocketing. That or Aura Vitality. Because, oh yeah, actually no, Aura Vitality, you keep that concentration up. I don't even remind myself. Aura Vitality, if I remember right, is that the one that just maxes out the healing? Or is that the one that's just bonus action healing? An aura radiates from you in a 30-foot emanation for the duration. When you create the aura and at the start of each turn while it persists, you can restore 2d6 hit points to one creature in it. Okay, no, that's Oh yeah, because Aura Vitality, it's the initial cast is an action, but beyond that, it's 2d6 to a creature in it. I don't think that costs you an action. Yeah, this is good. I would call this good. This subclass, just from level 3 to level 6, is kind of good. The positioning is important because you have a d6 hit die and are playing pretty close to the enemies if you're backing up your tanks and damage dealers the way you would want to be. But as long as the positioning you're keeping an eye on is positioning with the allies, this is good. Level 10 mutable form. When you use extended limbs, the duration increases to 10 minutes, and you gain one of the following benefits of your choice. Which lasts to extend limbs in, so you get some extra options whenever you do this. And it lasts longer. Superior Stride, where you aren't wearing armor, you can take the dash action as a bonus action, and you have a climb speed and swim speed equal to your speed. No issues there. You don't have any armor proficiency anyways, unless you multi-classed. And unnatural flexibility. You gain +2 bonus to AC, and your body, along with any equipment you're wearing or carrying, becomes pliable. You can move through any spaces now as 1 inch, and you can spend 5 feet of movement to escape from non-magical restraints or in the grappled condition. And the last thing they get is life-bending weapons. Once per turn, when you hit a creature with your organic weapon, you can expend 1 psionic energy die and roll it. Each creature of your choice in a 10-foot emanation originating from you regains hit points equal to the number rolled plus your intelligence modifier. Additionally, 1 creature of your choice in that area takes necrotic damage equal to the number rolled. Yeah, this one's good. I don't know, reading all of its stuff, this one just sounds really good to me. Okay, I am quickly turning a lot more optimistic. It seems like all the real meat of this class is in its subclasses for sure. I feel like all the really good stuff is in the subclass. Alright, let's take a look at the Sign Warper then, because this was the one that, I mean, initially, it's like, conceptually, this is the one that interests me the most. Sidewarpers turn their sonic powers to manipulating the space between objects, capable of teleporting across the battlefield and creating vacuums in space. Sidewarpers never in one place for too long. So the spell list, they get Expeditious Retreat, Featherfall, Misty Step, Shatter, Blink, Haste, Banishment, Dimension Door, Steel, Wind Strike, Teleportation Circle. All spells that I very much like. They also get Haste, so booyah. Level 3, Teleportation. You can cast Misty Step without expending a spell slot, and you must finish a long rest before you can cast it in this way again. You can also restore your use of it by expending 1 sonic energy die. No action required. So you get free Misty Step. So you get 1 free Misty Step, and then some more Misty Steps that don't require spell slots. So that's nice. You also get Warp Propel. When a target fails a saving throw against your Telekinetic Propel, instead of pushing it, you can teleport the target to an unoccupied space you can see within 30 feet of you that is horizontal to you. So it specifies you can't teleport them in the air, but you could still be sending them, like he was saying, into a pit, onto something dangerous, like maybe if a trap was laid by a party member or something. So yeah, so immediately this again solidifies as that bonus action. You want to do the Telekinetic Prepare and not, the Telepathy, which kind of sucks. Level 6, you get Warp Space. When you cast Shatter, you can expend 1 sonic energy die to modify the spell so that the radius of the spell sphere becomes 20 feet, so you can make Shatter big. In addition, creatures that fail the saving throw against spell are pulled straight toward the center of the sphere, ending in an unoccupied space as close to the center of the sphere as possible. So that's interesting. So it's definitely like a lot of manipulating the area. Right away, you can see this one is more of a heavy spellcast one because a lot of its abilities are dependent on modifying the spells you're casting. So this one is more if you want to go lean more into the actual spell casting element of it. you get 2 things. You also get Teleporter Combat. Immediately after you cast Misty Step, you can cast one of your Scion cantrips that has a cast time of an action as part of a bonus action. Okay, that I love. So that's just immediately after you cast Misty Step. So that's any way you do Misty Step. Is that if that's Misty Step as a spell slot, Misty Step for free, or Misty Step from as energy die, as a bonus action, you can then cantrip. So you can teleport away, do the cool Telekinetic Fling, like launch a bullet at them with your mind. That's fun. I like that. But that makes me realize, though, Misty Step, if you're casting it... Hold on. Isn't Misty Step a bonus action, though? Hold on. Yeah, hold on. Misty Step's a bonus action. Oh, wait, no, I misread it. You can cast one of your Scion cantrips that has cast time of an action as part of the bonus action. So, as part of the bonus action of doing Misty Step, you also cast a cantrip that has a cast time as an action as part of that. Okay, so that actually makes it even better. Now that I understand the wording. So you can, in essence, you could cast bonus action Misty Step as part of that same bonus action, also do a cantrip action, and then you still have your action available to you to do pretty much anything other than... Oh, wait. Because the way casting spells with spell slots and bonus actions work now, if you did the free Misty Step, that did not cost a spell slot. So, you could Misty Step, cantrip, as all part of the one bonus action, and then still as an action, cast a spell that cost a spell slot. Okay, so yeah, you can cast like 3 spells a turn with this. I mean, one of them has to be Misty Step, which is fine. You're teleporting around and repositioning. And one of them has to be a cantrip. Again, fine. It's level 6. Your cantrip's like starting to get pretty good. So that's interesting. That's a fun. Yeah, okay. You can have some fun with that. Level 10, Duplicious Target. When a creature you can see makes an attack roll against you, you can take a reaction, expend 1 Scion energy die, and choose a wearing creature you can see within 30 feet of you, within 30 feet of yourself that doesn't have the incapacitated condition. You and the wielding creature teleport, swapping places with each other. The creature then becomes the target of the attack roll. So the main use for this would be you get targeted and you're squishy, so you don't want to be hit, so you swap with your tank, who might, just not get hit by what would have hit you. That's fine. That's fun. It's fun for level 10. I'd say it's pretty okay. And then level 14, Mass Teleportation. This better do something as awesome as it sounds like it would be. As a magic action, you expend 4 psionic energy dice. Oh, it's expensive. 4 psionic energy dice and choose huge or small creatures within 30 feet of yourself, up to a number of creatures equal to your intelligence modifier, minimum of 1 creature. Each of those chosen creatures is teleported to an unoccupied space you can see within 150 feet of you. An unwilling creature that succeeds on a wisdom saving throw against your spell save DC is unaffected. Oh, that's a pretty big one. Because that's an unoccupied space you can see within 150 feet of you. That does not specify horizontal like the Warp Prepare does. Which means you could target all of your enemies, so long as they aren't gargantuan. Because you can choose huge or smaller. That gives you a lot of leeway. Because the only thing you can't grab are gargantuan creatures. So you just grab up to level 14. You possibly could have maxed it out by now, so you can choose up to like 5 creatures and teleport them either 150 feet away from you to give you and your buddies some leeway, 150 feet into a pit, into a spike, or just 150 feet straight into the air. And then they're going to fall and take almost maximum falling damage. Damn. Like, this range and this ability gives the possibility, depending on the terrain you're fighting on, because you could up and kind of to the side, like maybe if there's variable terrain, it's not flat ground. I mean, if there was anything to give that extra 50 feet, this has the possibility of just insta-killing a lot of things. Because if your DM is operating the enemy's falling to the same rules you take falling, at 200 feet, I believe is where you just auto-die. Because beyond... Wait, no, 200 feet would be where it's the maximum dice. And if you go beyond the maximum dice, then... Wait, hold on, because it's 10 feet per... And max out 20... Yeah, because if it's basically if you fall further than 200 feet, the game says you just die. So if there was enough variation in the topography, then you could insta-kill some enemies. I mean, that's fun. I can see, and basically based on that alone, I can see why that they would make that cost 4 of your energy die. All right, we got 2 more of these to go. Side Connect. You mold Sonic Force for creation and destruction. A Side Connect controls the Sonic powers like a malleable force. They bend their Terrakinetic energies into sturdy barriers and strike with the force of a battering ram. Side Connect spells. When you reach a Scion level specified in the Side Connect spells table, you then have to always have the listed spells prepared. You get Cloud Daggers, Levitate, Shield, Thunderwave, Slow, Terrakinetic, Crush, included in this UA, unlocks Resilient Spheres, Stone Shape, Telekinesis, and Wall Force. So it's a lot of things to shield and a lot of things to hit. So it's a very middle of the road offense and defense and pretty equal parts, but the options you get are pretty big offense and defense options. You get Telekinetic Technique. When you use Telekinetic Prepare, you can impose one of the following effects on the target. Boost the target speed increases by 10 feet until the start of your next turn. So this one is to use on your allies. Disorient. The target can't make opportunity attacks until the start of its next turn for enemies. And Telekinetic Bolt. The target fails saving throw. It takes force damage equal to the number of volt on the Sonic energy die. I'd say these are all pretty okay. Level 6. Empowered Attack Mode. While your attack mode is active, you gain a fly speed of 60 feet and can hover. And when you cast a Scion spell, you can add your intelligence modifier to 1 damage roll of that spell. Okay, I would say this is so far the only reason given to go use attack mode instead of defense mode. So that's something at least. Again, I still think they should, I don't know, come up with something different other than just attack and defense mode. Something about the names and that name, I'm not too into it. But that's a good option though. And then level 6, Rebounding Field. When you cast Shield in response to being hit by an attack roll and cause the triggering attack to miss, you can spend 1 Psionic Energy die to launch the force back at the attacker. The attacker makes a Dexterity saving throw, roll 2 Psionic Energy dice. On a failed save, the attacker takes force damage equal to the amount rolled, and you gain temporary hit points equal to the amount. On a successful save, the attacker takes half so much damage only. So they still take some damage. And then, if they fail, you get temporary hit points, and you hurt them, and you didn't get hit. That's pretty good, especially since, like, I mean, you're probably going to want to use, I mean, I will say, though, as a whole, I don't see much reason so far for this one to be in close proximity to enemies. Now, it doesn't specify it has to be melee. But I just feel like that's a lot of times when shield gets brought up is melee attacks. Because otherwise, I feel like usually those attacks are probably the attacks that shield works on are usually going towards more frontline combatants. So it has good potential. It's just a matter of how your battlefields play out, really. Enhanced Telekinetic Crush. When you cast Telekinetic Crush, you can spend one Sonic Energy die to modify a spell so that whether a creature fails or succeeds on the saving throw against the spell, its speed is halved at the start of your next turn. Okay, so that's okay. Heightened Telekinesis. When you cast Telekinesis, you can expend 4 Sonic Energy die to modify the spell so that it doesn't require concentration. If you do so, the spell's duration becomes 1 minute for the casting, and you can target gargantuan creatures and objects. Okay. I would say the Telekinetic is pretty okay. It's probably the least impressive one so far. But its level 14 ability is really good. Like, you get Telekinesis, and it's not concentration, and can target gargantuan creatures. That's kind of awesome. But the rest of its stuff is pretty okay to me. It's like, as a whole, the subclass doesn't seem as fun as the other two so far. I don't have a lot to say about this one, honestly. So I'm going to move on. Then the Telepath. Telepaths are masters of mind magic. They use their psionic powers for all matters of the mind. Whether they bolster the mental defenses of allies or probe the thoughts of others undetected, a telepath can be a bastion of psionic aid or crafty manipulator. So telepath spells, they get Bane, Command, Detect Thoughts, Mind Spike. Counter spells, Speak with Plants, Compulsion, Confusion, Awaken, and Modify Memory. So pretty fun options. Level 3, Mind Inflator. Not Inflator. Not the Mind Inflation. Infiltrator. When you cast Detect Thoughts. Hey, Hikaru-kun, thank you for the follow. Hope you're enjoying the little breakdown here. So when you sorry, I'm trying to recover from that. When you cast Detect Thoughts, you can expend 2 psionic energy dice to modify the spell so that the spell doesn't require spell components or concentration. And the target does not know you're probing its mind if it fails the wisdom saving throw. Okay, so that's useful. That's a pretty big utility use. And probably the most safe you will ever cast Detect Thoughts. Detect Thoughts, I feel is a very volatile spell, and you're pretty much always going to use that in more roleplay, social interactions, but it's super volatile because it's like one fail and somebody knows you're literally trying to read their mind, which is going to piss most people off. So this is probably the safest you're ever going to cast Detect Thoughts. And then you also get Telepathic Hub. You have telepathy with a range of 10 feet, and when you expend Sonic Energy die as part of using Telepathic Connection to increase the range of your telepathy, for the duration of the effect, you can simultaneously contact a number of creatures equal to 1 plus number rolled on the Sonic Energy die. That one makes the Telepathic Connection better. It makes it better. I'll give it that. It still is probably some of the weakest telepathy ability in the game compared to some of the spells and abilities that just give you that. I believe there's even some features that actually give you telepathy. I can't remember if those made it out of Unearthed Arcana or not, though. Level 6 gives you an empowered defense mode. While your defense mode is active, whenever you make a saving throw, you add 1d4 into the save. In addition, while your defense mode is active, you can extend this benefit to creatures you are telepathic connected with using your telepathic connection. There we go. That makes it worth it. Okay, so that makes it worth it, yes. So basically, the base version of this class has a lot of abilities that are pretty okay. But each subclass has at least 1 or 2 abilities that makes at least one of those base things way better. Which also means, depending on your subclass, there are some aspects of this class you will probably rarely or maybe even never use, and then those subclasses where you'll be using them like all the time. So this is a spellcaster where your playstyle is definitely going to vary a lot, and it's completely dependent on which subclass you get. And then you also get Potent Thoughts. You add your intelligence modifier to the damage you deal with any Psion cantrip. Okay, that's pretty good. It's pretty basic, but I mean, you also get this and some of this other stuff beforehand, so I mean, it's just a nice little boost since this one is, I think, is the only one that basically its only damaging options is spellcasting, and given the spell list, the majority of it is coming from their cantrips even, so that's a nice little boost for them. Then level 10, they get telepathic bolstering. You have telepathy out to 30 feet. When you or a creature you can see within range of your telepathy fails an ability check or misses with an attack roll, you can take a reaction and expend one psionic energy die, roll the die, and add the number rolled to the d20, potentially turning a fail check into a success or a miss into a hit. The psionic energy die is expended only if the check succeeds or the attack hits. Okay, so first off, you just base get 30 feet telepathy now, so now it honestly more or less makes that other ability useless again. But that's okay, because you are instead using that energy die for this much better reaction to, get to add a d20. Oh, no, I misread. Sorry. You roll the die and you add it to the d20. You aren't rolling another d20. That would have been crazy. You roll the die and add the number to the d20, potentially turning the check into a success or missing a hit. And you don't even lose the die unless it succeeds or the attack hits. So, yeah, this is a really good roll boost. That's nice. Okay, and the last thing you get is Scramble Minds. When you cast Confusion, you can expend 4 Sonic Energy die to modify the spell so that the radius of the spell sphere becomes 30 feet. In addition, creatures under the effect of the spell roll 2 d10s, and you choose which roll determines their behavior on their turns. So that's fun. That's just hold on. What's the size of Confusion base? Confusion is base. Let's see. Yeah, okay. Base, it's only 10 feet. And then there's only the 1d10 on the table to see what they do. So that's a pretty fun one, yeah. All the level 14 abilities are pretty fun. I don't know, the base features of the class are pretty meh, but the subclass features are all pretty good. The only one that I wasn't too big on was honestly the Psykinetic, which is unfortunate because that does seem like one that could be fun. The Psy Warper is really cool. To my surprise, the one that sounds the best, at least on paper, is the Metamorph. The only thing is, though, is this one is having you play really close to with your front line, and your hit die is a d6, and you have no armor. So it's dangerous game you're playing there, but if your positioning with your tank is good, this is a really good one. And then the Psy Warper is just super fun, spell casting, teleporting over the place. So that is the Scion. Let's go ahead and take a look at the spells a bit. I don't know if I'm going to look at all the spells because... Oh, you know what? The feats. The feats as well. Okay, I forgot about the feats. Okay, we actually still have a few things to look at then. So spells are presented in alphabetical order. The spell includes the artificer in the parentheses at the spell school of magic. That spell is added to the artificer spell list. Use the most recent version of the artificer that appeared in Unearthed Arcana. General updates. Returning spells have been refined, brought in line with revisions 2024. New spells in this article are Summon Astral Entity and Telekinetic Crush, and new options to various spells. Science spells using unique cantrip, Telekinetic Fling. Waltham, Psychic Lance. The spell has more guidance around using creature's name to target it. Tasha's Mind with the spell now restricts only the target's ability to make opportunity attacks on a failed saving throw. Okay. So, let's see. Interact Fortress, Concentration, 1 hour action. For the duration, one creature you can see within range has resistance, psychic damage, as well as advantage on intelligence, wisdom, and charisma saving throws. Tell you what. I am actually running short on time. So let's just look at like the new spells for now. So Summon Astral Entity and Telekinetic Crush. We already looked at Telekinetic Flank. So let's just look at these and then look at those features, because I want to see why the features restrict you to only one of them. Because the feature, it's a new classification of features too, and the prerequisite for all of them is you can only have one of them. So let me get a drink of water real quick because my throat's getting really dry. Anywho's it. So Summon Astral Entity and Telekinetic Crush. So Summon Astral Entity. It's a level 3 conjuration for Siren, Sorcerer, Warlock, and Wizard. Cast time of an action, range of 90 feet. Variable somatic material. A gem or crystal worth 300 plus gold, concentration up to an hour. You call forth the spirit of a psionic entity. It manifests in an unoccupied space that you can see within range and uses the psionic spirit stat block. When you cast a spell, choose crystal entity, ectoplasmic entity, or ghostly entity. The creature resembles an astral entity of that kind, which determines certain details in its stat block. The creature disappears when it drops 0 hit points or when the spell ends. The creature is an ally to you and your allies. In combat, the creature shares your initiative count, but it takes its turn immediately after yours. It obeys your verbal commands, no action required by you. If you don't issue any, it takes the dodge action and uses its movement to avoid danger. Using a higher level spell slot, use the spell slot's level for the spell's level in the stat block. So this is kind of just in line with some of the summoning stuff. It seems more in line with some of the older summoning stuff, where it includes like a stat box and whatnot, as opposed to how a lot of the swarm summoning stuff just turned into like AoE effects. So this is kind of more in line with the more classic summoning. So Sonic Spirits, let's see, base HP is 40, plus 10 for each spell slot above 30, above 30, above 3. AC is 11, plus the spell's level, plus 2 for the crystal entity only. Speed is 30 feet, and a fly speed of 30 for the ghost entity only. Let's see, Strength and Intelligence, above 16, 12, 11, and 10. Alright, immune to psychic damage, dark vision 6 feet, passive perception 11, deep speech and telepathy 60 feet. And then proficiency bonus equals your efficiency bonus. The ectoplasmic and ghost get incorporeal passage, can move through other creatures and objects. They were difficult terrain. If the spirit ends its turn in such space, is shunted to the nearest unoccupied space and takes 1d10 force damage for every 5 feet traveled. And then for actions, the multi-attack, the spirit makes a number of attacks equal to half the spell's level, round down. So you can give it a lot of attacks if you really upcast this. But base, it would be at level 3, half rounded down. So you only get 1 attack base, but as soon as you upcast it, it gets 2. And then basically for every 2 upcasts, it would get another one. So yeah. Ectoplasmic's Crystal Strike for the Crystal Entity only. Melee attack roll, bonus equals your spell attack modifier. 1d10 plus 3 plus the spell's level piercing damage. Reach 5 feet, not bad. Ectoplasmic Splash for the Ectoplasmic Entity only, of course. Ranged attack roll, bonus equals your spell attack modifier, range 30 feet. Hits is 1d6 plus 3 plus spell's level psychic damage. Hit or miss creatures in a 5-foot emanation originating from and including the target has its speed reduced by 5 feet until the end of its next turn. So that's hit or miss, no save. It and anything in 5 feet of it has its speed reduced by 5. That's pretty good, especially since it's hit or miss with no save. So it will always be able to do that. And there's nothing saying that doesn't stack either. So if you upcast it and it does this multiple times to the same group, it can reduce the speed a lot, very quickly. And then the ghost gets Ephemeral Ray, range attack roll, bonus equals your spell attack mod. Range 120 feet, and on the hit, it's 1d8 plus 3 plus the spell's level psychic damage. So no extra stuff. It's super far range and middle of the road damage. I would be inclined to go with this one. Just because, that has a lot more utility, and I don't think any of these are your big damage dealer anyways. Unless you want the crystal one to tank for you. And the crystal one also gets a reaction. Trigger, the spirit is hit by melee attack or response. The spirit halves the damage round down it takes from the attack. The spirit can then teleport to non-occupied space and sit within 30 feet of itself. So yeah, so I would definitely always do the crystal if you need an extra tank, or the ectoplasmics, or the ectoplasmic one for its attack. I don't see much of a reason to get the ghost one. Yeah. And then the other option is Telekinetic Crush. It's an action, level 3 transportation, 120 feet, variable and stains. Create a field of crushing telekinetic force in a 30-foot cube within range. Each creature in the area makes a strength save, which is good. I feel like there's not enough stuff that's strength save. On a failed save, a target takes 5d6 force damage and has the prone condition. On 6 save, target takes half damage, half as much damage only. Damage increases by 1 to 6 for each level above 3. I mean, yeah, it's just a decent damage during level 3 spell of the Transportation School, and it's a nice, strength save option, so that's a good thing to have, because not a lot of stuff, I feel like, uses strength saves. I'm not really going to touch on the other spells, because most of them are already in the book, or just being reworked, so I'll go into that maybe another time. I want to take a look at the Wall Talent feats and see, because this is a new category. Wall Talent feats is a new category, and all of them have this prerequisite, which is can't have another Wall Talent feat. So I want to see why that is. Like, why so few? Why only one? There's a lot of them, is the other thing. There's a lot of them, and all of them are at least 2 paragraphs of description. So maybe this reason is simply because it's a lot of bookkeeping. Sorry. Alright, so we'll start with this one, the Atmokinesis. You gain the following benefits. Lightning Jolt once per turn when you cast a spell or hit with an attack roll and deal bludgeoning damage, or bludgeoning, piercing, slashing, or psychic damage. You can change its damage type to lightning damage. Oh, okay, so I think of a lot of these. Yeah, okay, yeah, hold up. So right off the bat, a lot of these is just changing these damage types into a different damage type. So a lot of these are ones that's going to be good to take as your option for, like, Draconic Bloodline Sorcerer. But they each get another thing, so they each get that, and then also Psionic Talent. So the Shocking Grass cantrip you also always have the Fog Cloud spell prepared, and you cast it once without a spell slot, and you gain in the ability to cast it in this way when you finish Long Rest. You can also cast it using any spell slots you have of the appropriate level. When you cast these spells, they require no verbal or material components, and intelligence, wisdom, or charisma is your spell casting ability for them. When you reach character level 3, you also always have the Gust of Wind spell prepared and cast it the same way. Interesting. Let's see, so Biokinesis. You gain the following benefits. Bend Life Energy. When a spell you cast restores hit points to creature, you can roll 1d4 and add the number rolled to the total hit points restored. Okay, so that's just good right off the bat. If you're playing any sort of healer, just grab that for bonus healing every time you heal. You can use this benefit a number of times equal to your proficiency bonus. Okay, so it has limits. And you regain all expended uses when you finish Long Rest. And you also get... Okay, so all of them have its base thing and then a Psionic Talent, which Psionic Talent appears to be... It gives you bonus spells that you can cast once for free, and just like with the Scion, no verbal or material components, and it uses intelligence, wisdom, or charisma. I will say that is going to help us speed this along, since all of them have the same general layout, and also all these can actually alter your play a lot. So now I can kind of see why they would do that, because each of these really only would mostly benefit one particular build anyways, because they do one particular main thing that's only going to help particular build, and then you get some bonus spells that also get you additional spells at higher levels. That said, when you reach character level 3, unless you're getting these as a starting feat for some reason, you're already going to be level 3 because you would get this at level 4. So pretty much all these, you get all the stuff out of the bat. So you also get Spare the Dying, Hearing Word with this one, and Arcane Vigor. Clairsentience, Minor Knowledge. When you take the search action, you can give yourself advantage on any ability check. Ability check as part of the action. You can use spin for number times equal to your proficiency bonus, and you can spin uses when you finish a long rest. So you just make yourself better at doing things in general, and then you also get guidance and detect evil and good. And then later on, see invisibility as its bonus spells. Cryokinesis, you get to change the bludgeoning, piercing, slashing, psychic into cold damage, and then you also get Ray of Frost, Armor of Agathis, and Ice Knife for you prepared for your extra stuff. Okay, so this one doesn't give you another one later. You just get an extra level 1. Also, there it is, Armor of Agathis. So you could take this and then use that feature that lets you get the bonus the temp hit points. The discipline, the discipline that gives you those 10 hit points, to just keep Armor of Agathis up. And I'll go ahead and double check myself in the 2024 version of Armor of Agathis to make sure that is. Yeah, so Armor of Agathis, Protective Magical Frost Strands, you gain 5 temporary hit points. If a creature hits you with a melee attack while before the spell ends, the creature takes 5 cold damage, and the spell ends early if you have no temporary hit points. So, the duration is 1 hour. And it ends early if you have no temporary hit points. In the original version, it specifies so long as you have these temporary hit points. Temporary hit points specifically gained by Armor of Agathis. In the new version, those temporary hit points can be any temporary hit points so long as you have them before those hit 0 and before the 1 hour is up. So, you take Cryokinesis, and then I forgot the name of it, but the discipline that gives you the... Actually, I think it's... let me just go find it real quick. Yeah, biofeedback. So you go heavy on your Necromancy and Transmutation. And then whenever you cast those, you expend your die. You gain those temp hit points whenever your Armor of Agathis is getting low. And then you just have Armor of Agathis for a very long time and constantly doing more damage with it. So that was an interesting build. And then Empath. Empath is now a superpower. You get, well, some people might say it is, honestly. Empath, emotional sense. When you be an empath, when you take the influence action, you can give yourself advantage on any ability check made as part of that action. You can use this benefit a number of times equal to your proficiency bonus, and you gain all expended uses when you finish a long rest. And then the Sonic Talent, you get Charm Person. Yeah, all the same. Other stuff, yeah, just Charm Person, and then you at level 3 you also get Calm Emotions. And then the last few here, Flesh Morpher. You get flexible flesh. You can, when you make a dexterity, acrobatics, or sleight of hand check, you gain a bonus equal to your intelligence mod, minimum +1. You can use this benefit a number of times equal to your proficiency bonus for gain all uses in long rest. And for the Sonic Talent, you get Long Strider. And later on, Alter Save. Mind Whisperer. Limited telepathy. As a magic action, choose one creature you can see within 120 feet of yourself. You'll form a telepathic connection to the creature for 1 hour. Again, better than the base telepathic connection that you get. This is what I'm talking about. Like, every other source of telepathy in the game is better than that. Including the other ones included in this Unearthed Arcana. I mean, sure, this one's an action, but it lasts an hour. And the range is just instantly 120 feet. You and the chosen creature can communicate telepathically with each other while within 120 of each other. To understand each other, you each must mentally use the language to the other knows. Once you use this benefit, you can't do so again until you finish short or long rest. And then for the Sonic Talent, you get Mind Sliver, Dissonant Whispers, and nothing else. Side Trickster, you get Cunning Mind. When you make a Charisma, Deception, or Persuasion check, you get a bonus equal to your Intelligence modifier. You can use the spin for number of times, blah, 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 all the same. Sonic Talent, Minor Illusion, and Disguise Self. And then the Kineticist, rather. Psy Boost, when you take the dash action, you increase your speed by 10 feet until the start of your next turn. Okay, that's nice. You can do this times equal to your proficiency bonus. So yeah, just a nice little speed boost. And then you also get Telekinetic Fling, for fun, which is fun. And you also always have the Thunder Wave spell prepared. And then this is the one in the video they were very excited about, the Pyrokinesis. Fire starter. So once again, bludgeoning, piercing, slashing, psychic damage can be turned into fire damage, just whenever you want. No, not whenever you want. Once per turn. And then for Sonic Talent, you get Produce Flame, Burning Cans, and then later on, Scorching Gray. So these are interesting, and I guess I can see why you can only get one now, because they are very big to boosting a particular build. So whatever your build is, there is a good chance one of these provides a very nice boost to it, but not necessarily having another one of these would help it as much, as well as most of these give you 2 to 3 spells that you can cast at least once for free. So I guess if you could get multiple of these, you would have an insane amount of free castings. So yeah, that is other than the updated spells I didn't go over, that is the Psion. I mean, this is free to look at. Definitely go take a look. I gotta say, I'm actually fairly impressed. There's like a few things in it that definitely need work, as I pointed out quite heavily. But then there's also some things I super enjoyed. I think this could be a lot of fun. So I hope this one doesn't get the same treatment as the Mystic, which just fell apart and then got spread up into other subclasses. Don't get me wrong. Those subclasses it became are very fun subclasses, and I think everyone, like, I've seen every one of them use at least once at the tables I play at. But it would be nice to see this come out, especially as, you know, another intelligence-based class, because we only have Wizard and Artificer, and, you know, like, all those two, even those two were pretty far spread apart before we got a new intelligence class in the Artificer. And then the Artificer wasn't even ready, and like it didn't even come with the core book of the new 2024 stuff, which I still think kind of sucks. I think they should have included that in the core. I really think they should have, but that's a whole other thing. But yeah, that's my take on this. You know, I'm pretty satisfied with it. I like it. I feel like the Unearthed Arcana stuff has been pretty good lately. Like also the previous Unearthed Arcana with the new horror-based classes, those are really cool. The new Hexblade's pretty meh, but like I never play Hexblade myself, honestly. I don't know, it doesn't interest me that much. As far as like the vibe of Warlock goes, Hexblade thematically doesn't interest me, but whatever, that's me. But yeah, you know, I kind of like this, so I hope we can get something really good out of this. You know, like I hope they work on the stuff that needs that work, and also maybe just provide a little bit of clarification on those. It definitely is a resource crunchy class, because you got these dice, you got the number of them you get. These go up over time, not at the same rate as the number of dice. Then you have very limited cantrips, and then a limited spells list, and then you also have limited uses of your modes, which, as far as I saw, those never go up. You have 2, and you only have 2 forever, which is interesting. I feel like, I mean, I guess this isn't concentration or anything, so it's just choose one of these at the start of combat and then just keep it up, because like I said, there's only one subclass that gives I feel like gives a decent reason to use the attack mode, and other than that, just start your turn, first round of the initiative, activate defense mode, and then just do everything else from then on. But yeah, so that is my little look-see into the new, or I guess potentially new Psion class. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Hope you got some insight into this, but of course, do be sure to give it your own look over. You know, kind of form your own opinion on stuff. Like, by all means, listen to my thought and the thoughts of others to get an idea. But, you know, look into it yourself as well if it's something you're really interested in. Looking into it yourself, form your own thoughts on it, you know. Be it mechanically or thematically, as Neatha Tip mentioned earlier in the stream. Like, I am there with you as well. It's like, lore-wise speaking, it doesn't have as big a place for sure. But it is something I feel like can be worked in, especially when, you know, you do, like, Sonics have been in the game for a while. Like, they've been, like, they introduced it in first edition originally, and you can never tell, they're trying to put back in a lot of older edition stuff, like, especially with their attempt to return to Greyhawk as the primary setting. So if they continue to go through with that, you can see they're definitely trying to reintroduce and rework a lot of the very early D&D stuff. So, you know, they're trying to do some interesting stuff and make use of some older material that they have and make it vibe and work with the new stuff. So, you know, I am continuously optimistic with the game and the hobby because, you know, me and my friends enjoy this game and hobby, and frankly, there's not a lot that they can do to stop that, frankly. So, like, but as a whole, I'd say this looks good. This looks like a good addition, and I like it. So, yeah, hope you guys enjoyed that as well. This is going to be the end of the stream. We might stream later. Night Rain comes out later today. I don't know if I'll be streaming it later. It kind of depends on just schedule and availability and who's around, because I'll be frank, game looks very fun, but I don't particularly care to play it alone. It doesn't look like it'd be fun alone, and all the reviews I say is, this game is great, but not very alone. It's pretty meh by yourself, so I'll just have to see who I can get together for that, and whether or not it's at a time frame that would work for streaming again today. So we'll see. In any case, as I said last night, we also got some really big updates coming in June, so keep an eye out on posts in June, because we got some big stuff coming, especially from mid to late June. So, hope to see you guys then. Thank you very much for watching, and for now, in case I don't see you later, just hope you all have a great day, and safe travels. Bye.